Today, we become legends.
Atlas has been revealed, and I'm sure some of you don't want to sit through an hour-and-a-half patch notes show just to get the gist of what's been going on in Smite. So don't worry, this video's got you covered. We haven't had a Guardian since Cthulhu in the middle of last season, and we haven't had an actual support since Umoja, so I'm pretty excited for Atlas. He seems really fun and fluid to play as, his abilities all work really well together and often have cross synergy when used correctly, but let's jump into those. So to start, Atlas's attack chain is unique in Smite, being made up of only 1.25 times damage and swing speed hits. Meaning by default his basic attacks are the slowest in the game, probably a nod to his heavy Astral Abbey that he lugs around. The chain is 3 hits long and the final swing has a cleave effect similar to Guan Yu or Athena. When Atlas deals or takes damage, he gains stacks of energy in the Astral Abbey. When fully charged, his next basic attack is in a circular AoE and trembles gods while stunning minions. He gains 1.25 energy per god hit, 1/10 of that for minions. He needs 20 energy to do the AoE, so roughly 16 god hits or 160 minion hits, or more likely a combination of both. So a core mechanic of Atlas is going to be using that Astral Abbey. His first ability, Unburden, throws it out in front of him, dealing AoE damage to enemies within and slowing them. The Astral Abbey then remains deployed at the location. While being deployed, Atlas has different synergies versus if he was holding it. For example, his basic attacks while deployed will pulse the Astral Abbey and do AoE damage again around it instead of basic attacking like normal, similar to a Zeus shield. This definitely seems like his primary wave clear ability, but it could also work as poke in teamfights. Atlas' second ability, Gravity Pull, is a cone damage area in front of Atlas. Enemies in the further half of the cone are pulled to Atlas and take damage, while enemies in the closer half of the cone are picked up by Atlas in the Astral Abbey, where he can walk around for a short time carrying them, then throw them in a direction of his choosing. However, remember the Astral Abbey being deployed versus not deployed that I mentioned earlier? Well, that's what this ability does when not deployed. If your Astral Abbey is deployed, aka you've cast your 1 recently, the effect instead originates from it and not Atlas, pulling enemies towards the center where they collide with the Astral Abbey and are thrown outwards towards Atlas. His 1 and 2 have a lot of synergy together, with obviously throwing the Astral Abbey with 1, then using your 2 to pull enemies back into the damage area, all while basic attacking for that bonus pulse damage. Enemies standing to the sides of their minion waves in duo and solo will have to be very careful of Atlas using his 2 to pull them into the carnage from the sides after using his 1 on the wave. Atlas' third ability is his movement. He charges in a similar way to Artio's Bear Dash or Chiron's Dash, fairly slow, but as he passes by allies he will remove their burdens, cleansing them of slows and increasing their movement speed. When hitting an enemy god with a dash, you stop and deal damage, applying a 25, 50 or 75% slow based on how many burdens you remove from allies. 25% slow per burden, 3 burdens maximum. So this could be a real hard counter to slow heavy gods or compositions. A 75% slow is no joke, on top of cleansing your own team and giving them 35% bonus speed. But finally, let's get into Atlas's ultimate. This is a ground targeted circular AoE, dealing damage twice a second to enemies within and applying 1 stack of radiation per hit up to 7 stacks max. These radiation stacks reduce enemy power and protections by 2% and 5% respectively per stack. After 5 seconds, or when Atlas reactivates the ability, he sends the gamma ray burst forwards across the entire map. Yes, this simply covers the rest of the map where you were aiming, similar to Yan Assault. Enemies hit by the focused ray take extra damage and gain 3 stacks of radiation immediately, reducing their power by 6% and protections by 15%, so ideally you want 4 ticks of initial damage, then fire, totaling 7 stacks of radiation, which is the cap. This ability can be set up fairly well by using Atlas's 2 right after you deploy the ult to keep them in the AoE for as long as possible. You could also use your dash to slow them heavily into it as well, that could work. But that's my initial thoughts and overview of Atlas, Smite's new Guardian. Let me know your thoughts on him down below. I know I'll be at least trying him out in solo since he seems to have great wave clear and decent damage. He mainly lacks sustain for a solo god, but many solos with no sustain in their kit can still work, so I'm not too worried about that. Hell, even if he's only viables in support, I'm totally fine with that. It's been literally more than 2 years since the last actual support god, Umoja, was released, so I'm sure many support mains are hyped for this one. But yeah, gonna keep this one fairly short since I know most of you are probably just here to see his abilities, but perhaps I'll release an initial thoughts video if I like the god a lot. Catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.